Okay, this is the slideshow for geometry on target I think 9B. I'll double check that in a second. But here's a cheat sheet for missing sides, a cheat sheet for missing angles, and then the cheat sheet for 30, 60, 90, 45, 45, 90, and then deciding on whether a triangle is acute, obtuse, or right. So here's problem number 1, and this is 9B on trig. So it says use a figure below to write the value of the leg opposite angle A. So I'm going to go ahead and put a dot on angle A. And maybe I will. Yeah. And the side across from that dot right here is the opposite. The side across from the right angle is the hypotenuse, and the leftover side is the adjacent. So the leg opposite angle A is 20, and it wants the value. The leg adjacent is 21, and then the hypotenuse, we're going to skip to D, is 29. Then I'm going to change pen colors, and I'm going to put a dot at angle C. And now this time, this is the opposite, so I'm going to cross it out. This is opposite, and now this is adjacent. And it wants the angle adjacent to angle C, so that's this one right here, which is 20. Okay, the next problem number 2. We have to write the ratios for angle P. So again, I'm going to put a dot at angle P. This side is the opposite. Go to the right angle. The side across from the right angle is the hypotenuse. And what's left is the adjacent. And then remember, SOHCAHTOA is spelled this way, and it wants sine first. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So the opposite is 18 and the hypotenuse is 30. So I'm going to say 18 over 30. Now that can be reduced, so you can use the button on your calculator to reduce it, or 6 goes into 18 3 times, and 6 goes into 35 times, so 3/5. Now cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so that would be 24 over 30, and that needs to be reduced. 6 goes into 24 4 times, and that looks like a 9. Let me fix that. Uh, 6 goes into 24 4 times, and 30 divided by 6 is 5. So 4/5. And then finally, tangent is opposite over adjacent. Opposite over adjacent, so that would be 18 over 30. And I can reduce that by 6, so 18 divided by 6 is 3, and 30 divided by 6 is 5. But I did that wrong. That is not correct. So those of you that were paying attention, it's opposite over adjacent, so it should have been 18 over 24. And 6 goes into both of those, so that would be 3, and then 24 divided by 6 is 4, so 3/4. Okay, problem number 3. We're looking for angle K. So since that's the angle I'm trying to find, I put a dot there. And I identify the missing sides, or the sides, so that's opposite. Here's the hypotenuse. So this is the adjacent. Now I have to use the 2 sides they give me, so that's 9 and 3. And I'm finding an angle. This says find an angle, so I should be looking at the angle side of my cheat sheet. And it says that the angle is equal to, and we already said it was A, that we have to use 3 and 9, which is A and H. And then again, according to SOHCAHTOA, A and H is right here, so that's cosine. But it's an angle, so I'm going to do the inverse cosine of the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So angle K is going to be the inverse cosine, and then I need to do the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So I need to turn on my calculator. Sorry. Okay, got it. Make sure you're in degree mode, so I am. And I'm going to do inverse cosine of, oh, I didn't put it down. Opposite, or inverse cosine would be adjacent over opposite, so that would be 3 over 9. So the inverse cosine of 3 over 9. And I get 70.5, and it wants to the nearest degree. So that would be 71 degrees. So 70.5. But when I raise it to nearest degree, it would be 71 degree. That 5 makes it 71. Okay, number 4. You have to find side NO, so I'm going to call that X. I have to put a dot where my angle is, and my angle's at 32. And I'm going to say that's opposite. This is the hypotenuse, so what's left has to be the adjacent. I have to use what I'm trying to find, which is X, and I have to use the side that I know, which in this case is adjacent. So I'm using O and A. And O and A, if I wrote out SOHCAHTOA, O and A is tangent. So the rule is the tangent of the angle, and this time I'm finding a side, so I should be using the side portion of my cheat sheet to find a missing side. It's opposite over adjacent. So the tangent of my angle, which is 32, equals the opposite, which is X, over the adjacent, which is 7. Put it over 1, I'm going to cross multiply. X times 1 is X, and 7 times tangent 32 is 7 tangent 32. Now it's really important that you write the tangent 32 last, and this number right here, always put it in front. Now just plug that into your calculator. Again, make sure it's in degree mode. Tangent 32. And it's 4.4. So it's 4.37. But I look at that 7, and that 7 says make that a 4 because this is a side, so we're doing it to the nearest tenth. So 4.4. Okay, number 5, is a word problem. So this is a little flag on the thing. This is the actual kite string. So this is the string. And this right here represents the height. How tall is it? Okay? And so we've released 68 feet of string, 68 feet of string. So that's 68. And I know that the angle with the ground, so down here with the ground, is 51 degrees. And I need to find the height, so I'm going to call that X. So I put a dot at the angle I know, and again I'm finding a side, so I should be using the side of my cheat sheet. This is the opposite. This is the hypotenuse. And this left over is the adjacent. I have to use what I'm trying to find, which is the opposite, and what I know, which is the hypotenuse. So I'm using O and H. And again, if I write down SOHCAHTOA, I have the sine. Alright, sorry about that. I was afraid I didn't have the video recording, or the audio going, but I did. So everything looks good. Okay, so it's the sine of the angle is the rule. Sine of the angle is equal, and remember sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So opposite over hypotenuse. And again, we had to use O and H, so O and H is here right with the sine, so that's why I use sine. So now I say the sine of my angle. So the sine of my angle, and my angle is 51, equals the opposite, which is X, over the hypotenuse, which is 68. Put this over 1, do some cross multiplying, and I get X equals 68 sine 51. And again, it's super important that this number down here gets written in front. Then I just plug that into my calculator. And again, make sure you're in degree mode. So 68 sine 51. and get 52.84. And that 4 does nothing to the 8, so my answer is just 52.8. Okay, number 9. We have a tree. It casts a shadow. So the tree is 23 yards, so this is 23. And the shadow is always on the ground. So here's my shadow. And my shadow is 33. And we want to find the angle of elevation. So angle of elevation is from the ground looking up. So that's what we're looking for. So right here I'm putting a dot because that's the angle I'm trying to find. Now I need to be using the angle side of my cheat sheet. This is the opposite. This would be a right angle, so this would be the hypotenuse. And this is the adjacent. So SOHCAHTOA. And I have to use the two sides they give me. So they give me the 23, which is the opposite, and they give me the 33, which is the adjacent. So O and A right there is tangent, but I'm finding an angle. So the angle is equal to the inverse tangent of the opposite over adjacent. So the angle is equal to the inverse tangent of the opposite, which is 23, over the adjacent, which is 33. So I'm going to do 23 divided by 33. Or sorry, I'm going to do the second tangent. So second tangent, or inverse tangent, sorry, of 23 over 33. And I get 34.8. And it wants it to the nearest degree. So that 8 makes that a 35 degrees. Okay, and then the last problem, number 7. We have a surveyor. He's using his little surveying tool. Anyway, it's 70 feet away from the building. It's 4 feet off the ground, and this makes an angle of 63. So it wants the height of this building. And the problem is, I'm going to just find from here to here, because the triangle only has this height right here, from here to here. So I'm going to find this value, and then I'm just going to add 4 to it to find the height of the whole building. So again, this is the angle I know. The side across from that is x, so that's the opposite. Here's a right angle, so this is the hypotenuse, which makes this the adjacent. Then SOHCAHTOA. And I have to use this 70. So that's adjacent. And I have to use what I'm trying to find, which is x, and that's opposite. So opposite and adjacent is tangent. This is a side. So I'm going to use this formula. The tangent of the angle is equal to the opposite over the adjacent. So the tangent of 63 is equal to the opposite over the adjacent. Put it over 1, cross multiply, 1 times x is x, and again this, and remember it's super important that you put that 70 in front. So 70 tangent 63. And I plug that into my calculator and get 70 and then times the tangent of 63, and I get 137.4. Now I have to add the 4 feet to that because this was 4 feet more. So 137.4 plus 4 should be 141.4. So it's 141.4 feet tall. Okay, and that's the end of the problems that I explained to you how to do. So you need to do the following problems. They need to be shown to me, a math lab teacher, or a help lab teacher to verify that you tried these problems and that you got them correct. Okay, so here's problem number 1. So pause it, solve it. Here's problem number 2, pause it, solve it. Problem number 3, pause it, solve it. 4, 5, 6, and 7. Good luck.